The worldwide alarm has been triggered by news that the Russian president has ordered a partial mobilization of troops to be sent to Ukraine and has threatened to use all measures they have to defend Russian territory. After nearly 80 years, nuclear weapons are still seen as a deterrent by many nations and a means to endure their safety. Get the ball rolling. Let's start talking about the specifics with WW Celebs. Let's get started. Well, analysts, however, believe that Putin's actions, like his earlier threats, should be seen as a warning to other countries not to get more involved in Ukraine, not as a sign that he wants to use nuclear weapons. You can't take Putin at his word that he won't use nuclear weapons because his threats have zero credibility. Joe Biden was justified in criticizing his nuclear saber-mongering on Sunday and again on Wednesday at the United Nations. It is also prudent of the president to keep open the possibility of a variety of responses from the United States if Russia detonates a nuclear bomb. Putin may have threatened a nuclear assault, but it doesn't imply it definitely won't happen. The sad truth is that the road to nuclear weapons usage is visible. The fundamental plot is as follows, however, there are numerous variations. This fall, the West will strengthen its assistance for Ukraine by sending more of the same weaponry and deploying new ones. As a result of Western information, the Ukrainians have a significant advantage over the Russian army, which is numerically superior but poorly trained, poorly equipped, and demoralized. There are many casualties within the Russian military. It comes via a part of Ukraine that it seized. Putin's ultimate scheme appears to be failing at this point. Tensions in Russia continue to rise. He is terrified of losing control and being dragged through the streets like Gaddafi. So, to highlight the hazards, terminate the conflict, and avoid tragedy for himself, he decides to gamble by using a tactical nuclear bomb against Ukrainian soldiers. His goal isn't to win a military victory so much as to force Western capitals to reassess their approach. After that, it would be difficult to reduce tensions. Lacking any other choices, the United States and NATO nuclear powers would be pushed to launch a nuclear strike of their own, most likely on Russia. Due to the dispersion of its conventional forces, Russia would most likely respond to such an attack by escalating the confrontation with NATO into a nuclear war. The United States may try to avert nuclear war by sending a major conventional force to Ukraine, but this would be seen as almost as threatening by Russia as a nuclear assault by NATO. In the unlikely event that such a plan was to succeed in de-escalating tensions, the nuclear taboo would have been breached, increasing the likelihood that other despots might resort to nuclear weapons in the future. To convince India, China, and the other members of the G20 to denounce Russia's nuclear threat, the United States and its allies will need to use every tool at their disposal, from economic incentives to diplomatic pressure. It appears that India and China, two developing nations, recognize the risks for their futures, as seen by their cool welcome of Putin earlier this week. For China, Russia's activity in Ukraine is interpreted through the prism of Beijing's Taiwan policy, creating internal tension. Even if a nuclear war were to be limited in Europe, Beijing should understand the dire effects it would have on the country's economy. However, it's unlikely that social pressure alone will be effective. Despite the comprehensive sanctions system, Biden's own words against Putin, and the previous U.S. record of ousting despots, Biden should also find a way to reaffirm that the U.S. is not attempting to topple Putin. A ceasefire would calm the situation and prevent further escalation, but persuading the Ukrainians to accept one would be difficult now that they have the impetus. Russia's intention to seize the areas makes discussions less tempting by taking them off the table. Western capitals should warn Ukrainian officials that retaking all their territories may be difficult. Their heroic operation in Kharkiv barely reclaimed a part of their land. Uncertain if it can be repeated. Now is not the time to give the Ukrainians additional weaponry. Putin's choices are untenable. Russia's carelessness must be punished. In the next several weeks, leaders must avoid the worst. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, do give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more.